has 0 election experience prior to this year, and they are joined by other companies with 0 election experience prior to this year. This is what happens when you put good people behind bad leaders. It's a disaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Recorder Richer. Any questions for the recorder from our board? Okay. Is there a motion on this item?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I would make a motion that we accept this letter that has been presented to us as a board, and I would like to make a comment.
Okay. We have a motion.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
And a second. Okay, Mr. Vice Chair Gates.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. And I just want to start by saying thank you to Mr. Richer. Thank you for walking us through this, but more importantly, thank you for your leadership. You had nothing to do with the election in 2020. It would have been easy for you to have thrown a lot of people under the bus and said, we're going to do better next time, but you didn't. And if that isn't a profile in courage, I don't know what is. If that isn't leadership of your team, I don't know what is. So thank you. But again, I think this is a theme that we see at Maricopa County. That's why I consider myself so fortunate to be here, because this is a group that chooses to do what's right, not what's easy. We've seen that time and time again. We go back a couple years to the elections challenges that Mr. Richer was talking about, and it would have been easy for this Republican-dominated Board of Supervisors to have thrown the Democrat recorder, Adrian Fontes, under the bus and blamed everything on him. That's what a lot of Republicans wanted us to do. But instead, we worked with him in 2019 to create a new bipartisan election system in Maricopa County. And why did we do that? Because we knew that the eyes of America and frankly the world were going to be on this county. We knew that the election might come down to this county. Again, we didn't do the easy thing, but we did what was right. And then fast forward to 2020, when Clint Hickman was our chairman, it would have been easy for him and the rest of this board to say, as people were raising these various theories that, you know what, we're not sure what happened here. You know, we're gonna pass the ball on this. We're not gonna stand up. But instead, he sent a letter out, and he sent a message to this whole board and to this county and to this country that the people of the elections department, that the people of the Maricopa County Recorder's Office had done a good job with this election. And then when we came together as a board in this room to certify the election, we didn't just check the box and say, we approve this. We spent hours in here asking questions of Ray Valenzuela, of Scott Jarrett, the 2 gentlemen who led this election. We asked all the questions that we had been asked by our constituents, and we were satisfied that this was a fair election. It had been conducted accurately. But then, when the election was over, there were still people asking questions. And so we responded to that, and we agreed to conduct 2 audits from independent voting laboratories. But that wasn't enough for members, certain members of the Arizona State Senate. They came to us and they demanded the elections machines and they demanded the ballots. And again, quite frankly, the easy thing for us, especially the 4 Republicans here, would have been to just turn them over, say it's not our problem. But we had concerns. We had concerns that we did not have the legal authority to do this, so we went to court to get direction from a judge. But that wasn't enough for the Arizona Senate either. They pushed and pushed to the point that they held a vote to hold all of us in contempt and possibly jail us. And we know through that process that there are multiple members of the Senate who wanted to see us behind bars. And they can deny it, but that is the fact. Even though we told them, we're going to court, we're getting direction, we will respect the decision of the court. Again, we didn't do the easy thing, we did what was right. And now fast forward to today. we respected the decision of the court. Our elections team sent the ballots over there, sent the election equipment over there, and we have allowed that process to move forward. But as Mr. Richer said, enough is enough. This organization, this county, the employees of Maricopa County they have questioned our integrity. And Mr. Richer just did a wonderful job of responding to point by point. We have never done what was easy, but we have done what is right. And now we've reached another point. We were commanded to appear on Tuesday in front of a few people, not a committee, the Senate Judiciary Chair, the Senate President, and Ken Bennett. And I agree, Ken Bennett is a good man, but he's not a member of the Arizona Senate. And this board was going to be part of a political theater broadcast on live stream by OAN. And the Arizona Senate is better than that. The Maricopa County Board of Supervisors is better than that. We're not going to be a part of that. And now they know, now everyone knows, we have responded, and so where do we go from here? Well, my hope is now we can bring the heat down, we can bring the accusations down, and we can again start to focus on the issues that matter. We're doing that here in Maricopa County. We just voted on a budget this morning, a budget that takes care of the needs of this county, that puts more funds towards pension, retiring our pension debt, and provides some tax relief to the people of Maricopa County. That's what we're focused on, and I hope that we see that same kind of focus from the Arizona Senate. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Supervisor Gallardo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And first and foremost, let me say thank you to my four colleagues sitting here to my right here. Have been just gentlemen through this whole process. Also want to thank County Recorder Richards, Sheriff Penzone, Superintendent Watson, and Treasurer Allen for standing with the Board of Supervisors and the county and doing what is right. As Supervisor Gates indicated, the county and the board could have taken the easy, quick, dirty way out, and just we're not going to.
County assessor.
Oh, county assessor. I'm sorry. The county assessor as well. We could have taken the easy way out and just turned everything over and disregard the chain of custody, disregard the confidentiality of voters, and just kind of threw a whole democracy to the curb. But we didn't. We stood up for what was right. We stood up for what I believe was about voter integrity and the election credibility, and that's what we did. Unfortunately, you have a few folks at the legislature being led by President Fan, who has really been a huge disappointment. I come here not only as a supervisor, but previously a state senator and a former member of the Maricopa County Elections Department. The comments that have been made by President Fan and some of her own colleagues have just been very disappointing. The attacks made on our election system, the attacks made on our hardworking elections officials are just outrageous. I've been one of those elections officials, working very hard, long hours, doing everything we can to be able to provide a day of voting, a day of an election, to be able to allow the voters across Maricopa County, regardless of party affiliation, the ability to exercise the most fundamental right they have, the right to vote, to be able to make sure you have a process that is fair and has equal access to the ballot box. That has all been under attack over the last 6 months. It's hard to believe, Mr. Chairman, that it has been 6 months, 195 days to this day, 195 days since November 3rd, and we're still talking about this. We're still hearing the same accusations, the same conspiracy theories, the same unfounded comments continue to be thrown at. And they're making new ones as we go along. It seems like it just never stops. Unfortunately, Karen Fan has allowed this to happen. The idea that she would say that she has no control over this Twitter account, it just shows failed leadership there in the Senate. To be able to be attacked by folks that she has hired herself, contractors that work for her, just shows a lack of leadership and a disappointment. She has rented out and let the Senate go and be in the hands of outside consultants that have no idea how elections are conducted, have no idea about the importance of the protection of the ballots and our elections system. That's unfortunate. She has not only disappointed me, but disappointed people across the state of Arizona, I believe. She has let the Senate be controlled by outside forces instead of standing up and being a real president of the Senate and doing what's right. I was a former member there at the Arizona State Senate. I've worked with many different presidents and different committees chairs, and I have never seen anything like this. Never. We may disagree on a lot of issues, and we may have different discussions and arguments over policy issues, but the one thing that the Senate has always agreed on, and that is about the importance of our elections, the importance of our democracy, and doing everything we can to protect it. That has been thrown out the window with President Fan. She has allowed these outside organizations to drift around the Coliseum, fundraise off the audit, and allow citizens, I believe good citizens, that are there trying to do the right thing, but you have outside organizations that are fundraising and putting accusations and making false statements. And she's allowed this to happen. It's unfortunate, and I would hope that the members of the Senate take notice of it and ask Senate President Fan to stop this audit. To my hardworking elections officials that have worked over a year and a half to put on one day of voting, thank you for the work that they have done. They have been scrutinized, they've been criticized, their work has been called into question. These are hardworking folks that have pulled off 3 remarkable elections in the middle of a pandemic. Some of the highest voter turnout we've ever had, and they pulled off a remarkable election. They should be commended and congratulated by the Arizona State Senate. The fact is this, folks, the election wasn't in question until a couple days after the final vote count. That's when all of a sudden, whoa, there might be a problem. We don't like who won the election, so let's call into question. Let's start rumors and unfounded statements and conspiracies. Let's throw these out there. Let's do everything we can to undermine the will of the voter, undermine our democracy. Let's do everything we can. No one, I believe for myself, never thought it would last this long. 195 days, we're still talking about it. 6 months later. And I don't see this ending, Mr. Chairman, unfortunately, because you have some folks right now that are in control of the Arizona State Senate, and it is not elected members of the body. These are outside forces that control the Senate. And President Fan does not have the political courage, the wisdom to be able to stop it. She has gone along with it. She has now put out a letter that is offensive to everybody here in Maricopa County, particularly the hardworking men and women there in the elections department. They have cast continued doubts over our election system. They continue to now claim that we committed an illegal act, or some folks here in the county committed an illegal act with no proof, no founding state or facts. They continue to make these types of accusations. Mr. Chairman, I am delighted to be able to support this motion, delighted to add my name to this letter, and I would hope that Senate President Fan steps up, shows some political courage, pushes back, gets rid of these contractors that have no business at the Coliseum. Mr. Chairman, this is interesting. Later on, I'm going to be speaking at a handful of graduations right there at the Veterans Memorial Coliseum. We talk about the chain of custody. We got 6,000 students that are there, them and their family members that are going down to the Coliseum. And just a few yards away from our ballots and our machines. Is that ballot security? I say not. We protected the chain of custody. We have always done it. Unfortunately, the Senate has decided to ignore federal law, ignore state law, and do what they want with outside contractors. Mr. Chairman, once again, I am honored to sign this letter and support the motion.
Thank you, Supervisor Gallardo. Supervisor Chukri.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I would ask the indulgence of you and my colleagues because I think history is important. And Mr. Richer touched on some of this history, but I want to go back to 2011, 2012 when I decided to run for this office. And I did so because there was disarray in Maricopa County. You could pull up the headlines and you would see a county attorney trying to jail some county supervisors. You would see supervisors stirring the pot unnecessarily. There was infighting. Everything but county business was happening. And I thought we could do better. I had no intention of running, and I did, and obviously was successful. And then the past 8 years, we have marched forward to bring about the promise that I saw back in 2012 that Maricopa County could be, it would be. The promise of having the ability now to hire and fire at will in Maricopa County like the private sector. The promise of bringing an overarching business mindset to government, just like we did this morning on the budget we adopted per Mr. Gates's comments. That's great. That's something to celebrate. And you will know that as it relates to this audit, as it relates to the issue that Mr. Richard touched on, and that was that a few years back, our colleague who's no longer is here with us, Mr. Barney, said, why are we operating an apparatus called an elections department like we did in 1955, meaning that the authority this board had to do election day activities, to look and function with elections, was really archaic. To when this county was just 300,000 people, today we're just under 5 million people. And so we didn't just shoehorn a solution in. We took time and many chairmanships to get us to where we are, to 2019, when Mr. Richer so eloquently said what we were able to accomplish with a very robust and talented elections office, department, and team. As part of that transformation, I was a big believer that as a fiscal conservative, I would spend what is necessary to protect one's right to vote. And when we saw questions about tabulators, we saw questions about what happened, even from my mother, who's told me to stop quoting your age when I would use her, reference her, calling me and saying, sweetheart, what's going on? Is my vote really counting? And my mom's not a right-wing conspiracy theorist. But the reality is there was doubt cast. So I supported an audit. I supported cooperating with the Senate. What I didn't support is a mockery. And that's what this has become. You see literally every elected office in Maricopa County, countywide to our supervisorial districts, in this auditorium today. Some have no context or no relationship to elections. But they're here today because they believe in Maricopa County and what it represents. They believe and see what I saw in 2011, 2012 when I ran for this office. They don't believe in wrongdoing and criminal activity by any of us. They don't believe what is occurring just a few miles away is really, truly an audit. And for those folks who are so quick to go on Twitter, to call my cell phone on Easter Sunday, to lob death threats, because they firmly believe this election didn't turn out the way they'd like to see it, or that they thought somehow corruption was there, I would ask you respectfully to read this 13-page letter that is very accurately pointing out why the assertions made earlier by these auditors in the state Senate are false and wrong. Take the time to do that, because you're hurting your own credibility by just lobbying on and going along with the greater folks who believe in this. I'll end with this, Mr. Chairman. Public office doesn't complete me. This is an honor to be able to serve my district, District 2. But at the same time, people have to understand that we're doing what we think is right. We're doing what we think could be the positive difference that not only makes our state stronger, but Maricopa County stronger, and to grab and embrace the promise of tomorrow. And that's what I want to start focusing on, are the other multitude of issues that are facing my constituents in my district. And I think with this letter, Mr. Chairman, I think, and I firmly believe, it does set us on that path forward, that we are not going to have a knee-jerk reaction to every time an auditor asks for A, B, or C, or to have a pencil sharpened. They need to figure this out and conduct their audit. We have too much to do, and you see the people in this auditorium today that will agree. So I appreciate you bringing this together. I appreciate the comments of my colleagues. I certainly appreciate the county-wide electeds that are here today supporting us. We thank you. We stand together, and let's move forward together, and I think hopefully put this audit behind us.
Thank you, Supervisor Chukri. Well said. Supervisor Hickman.
Mr. Chairman, I hope you're kind of coming to me last, because I was in that role that you're sitting in for the previous year when this was going on. And my chairman's address, as I've mentioned before, my chairman's address did not. It said 3 different ways to Sunday. We're going to have 3 elections to run in my chairmanship: presidential preference election, the primary election, and the general election. And we're going to learn things, and we're going to work hard. It was the world's fastest chairman's address, I think. I still hold the record because I knew we had some central things that we had to do outside of the furthering the goals of the growth of not only the county, the West Valley, but what a wonderful region. So little did I think when I sent a letter out saying tone down the political rhetoric, and it created death threats and 90 people showing up to my house on a Sunday night saying I was not doing the oath of my office, and that was anything but. I was luckily appointed after the turbulence of the county. Before, I was appointed by this man, had a hand, Steve Chukri had a vote to put me on a board with 3 other people that served with high honor, integrity, and character, and that is the reason why I decided to step totally out of our very public business and hopefully do public service for the greater good of this county. And I still, to this day, say this is the central tenet of why I have this job, is public service to the 4th largest county of the United States, and one that is growing by leaps and bounds, fastest growing of all these years. So that I've been on this board. Elections, I've always been brought up that there are Republicans, Democrats, Independents, Green, you name it, that take these roles and volunteer to work. It was an abhorrent situation watching those nights following election night when they were trying to count the vote and people were protesting in the between the cars in a parking lot of where my mother could have been at 10 o'clock at night. So this has been just an absolute unfortunate time, but I have an unwavering belief. I think that you've seen that in my statements all the way through this. I have unwavering belief that our elections department, early voting, day of voting, everybody in the elections, the recorder's office did a phenomenal job, because as chairman I was asking them to. In my chairman's address, the word pandemic and COVID-19 of January before last was not mentioned in my chairman's address. I'm going to go back a little bit in time also to show some publicly elected officials that did the right thing. County Recorder Fontes on the presidential primary, if you may remember, it seems like light years ago, felt that he was going to be able to protect the public health of Maricopa constituency by sending out ballots for the presidential preference election, and continued on that quest until Secretary of State, we the whole time were reminding him that would be against the law. Then Secretary of State Hobbs placed a call to her own party member, Adrian Fontes, and said, you cannot do that. Then Attorney General Brnovich then also weighed in. And guess what? The ballots didn't get sent. We were able to learn from that. Then we learned several things that occurred operationally in the primary election. Thankfully, we learned that and put new steps in place. And we ran a fantastic general election during a pandemic. Our voters were safe. Their health was kept safe on different steps and new things that we put in. Supervisor Chukri also mentioned, I'm trying to think, you hit me with something. No, you made mention of something that I thought was really important. It'll come to me, Steve. It'll come to me just now. During this time, I want to, here's a central reason why we were invited. I've been invited before to the Senate Judiciary Committee. I spent 5.5 hours of my life not with the new recorder at that time, but Scott Jarrett the day of elections, and Mr. Tom Liddy, the county attorney's office, answering questions to that Judiciary Committee. Anything that they wanted to ask, we were there to answer. So I've done this. Now to find out, we get a letter, and we want to repeat this again on items that I can't even tell. The Senate or the Cyber Ninjas have all the material. We have copies, but they have all the material. We're trying to, with this letter, we're speculating that these are the questions that they have. I'm quite sure that there will be more questions tomorrow that they were going to ask. But these seem to be the most important ones. That's why they put it in letter form. So Recorder Richer, thank you for answering. Thank you for getting your team together. The county attorney's office, thank you for answering. Here's the other thing that I keep seeing routinely, the twisting and turning of phrases and words to satisfy one side's or the other's narrative. So let it be clear, none of us, zero, are afraid or are running or trying to cover something up. We are trying to do the best we can as publicly elected officials. We ran a bipartisan, fair election. That's every piece of evidence that I've ever seen put in front of us. We are operating on facts and evidence presented to this board. That's why we certified the vote. That's why we canvassed the vote. So everything that we saw, everything that was put in front of us, that's how we certified this vote and sent it on to the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, as well as the governor to sign off on that. I could not be more specific in operating on facts and evidence and not on beliefs. We have a job to do. That's what we use to guide our decision and to guide our votes. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your leadership all the way to this point. I would ask the Senate to complete an audit that I would be familiar with when it comes to running a business. We do animal husbandry audits, we do food safety audits all year long. And those auditors come in, take a look at what we have been doing, take a look at the evidence, and then, quite possibly, will then tell us maybe some things we should think of to do better next time, or new standards or procedures. That's what I'm used to. I'm used to getting a report so we can start working on it. This letter from the person that is signed off on this audit, just wanting us to go ahead and do their job for them, is not the way you run an audit. Send us the report so we can look at it. If you find something, anything that was against the law or against our statutory authority, I believe we will be ready to answer that in a court, especially when you are throwing around terms like spoliation of evidence. We'll see it in court. Please bring it at that point. We will be happy to look into it, because that's what all this is about. So, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Supervisor. Okay, we have a motion and a second. We need to vote. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Supervisor Chukri.
Aye.
Supervisor Gates.
Aye.
Supervisor Hickman.
Aye.
Supervisor Gallardo.
Aye.
Chairman Sellers.
Aye. Okay, that motion passes unanimously, and I want to thank all of you for your thoughts and comments. Hopefully, this will clear up a lot of the concerns that anyone might still have had. Certainly, you know, most of the questions we are being asked have been asked and answered numerous times. The information is out there. Please look at the responses you got today. I think that you will find that this county is doing an outstanding job, and I truly appreciate the fact that we are united as one Maricopa County. You will see all the names of electeds that are signing this letter on the letter, and when this meeting is over, each one of us will sign the letter. So, as chairman of this board, I just want to make it clear, I will not be responding to any more requests from this sham process. Finish what you're calling an audit and be ready to defend your report in a court of law. We all look forward to it. We are adjourned.